we're going to get started. Perfect. Welcome, everyone. I am thrilled to invite you to our third amazing class. And for those of you who have not yet been on one of these classes, Michelle is the fabulous CEO and head honcho at FemGevity, and I feel very honored to not only be helped by FemGevity, but to come along as the mindset coach to kind of bring some of the emotional, psychological, and nervous system support that comes along with the perimenopause game, moving into menopause. And as we've said many times, we want to not only have feel better from what we're doing as our bodies change and our hormones change, but also move into a space of vitality at different stages of our life, require different things of us. And it's time for us to put ourselves first, for some of us for the first time in our lives, and for other of us, we forgot about it for many years. And today we're going to be talking exactly about that. So this class is called Stillness, Strength, and the Self That Nobody Sees. So feel free to unmute or pop in the chat when I ask a question. If you don't want to put your videos on, that's completely fine as well. I'm comfortable on video. Lots of people are not. But today I'm going to take you through some of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So from a physiological place as well as an emotional and neurological, so we can understand why we feel crazy at this stage of our life and what we can do about it instead of, the funny memes on Instagram help, and moaning and complaining to our friends helps also. But there are strategies besides getting on hormones, which is extremely key. FemGevity, for me, for the past 2 years, has been really helping me with all of my labs, all of the details, getting me on the right hormones, getting me the right supplements to help me feel like a human being again. It's been a crazy couple of years. And then once my physicality started feeling better, I had more bandwidth and energy to take a look at the rest of my life and say, what do I want for the next stage of life? In motherhood, in my relationships, in work, in my own sanity, which is a nice question to ask ourselves. So you made it here, and that alone is a radical act that you decided to come and listen to stuff that is hard to face, because all of us high functioning women rarely make the space to stop. We rest when we earn it. We rest when we have to. We pause when it's convenient, and it rarely is. And by the time it's convenient, it's usually too late to take a look at a lot of this stuff. So coming today to show up to do this together with me is very brave, and I very appreciate you showing up for this. So as we sit down and all kind of land from wherever we are in the world and wherever your time zones are, whatever your day looks like, I want you to just get quiet with me for a minute. And I want you to notice you sitting in your seat, notice how your jaw feels, notice how your body has been gripping the world. The world is a crazy place. Our lives are very busy. I want you to ask yourselves, what one word comes up when I say stillness? So do you feel relief? Do you feel fear? Do you feel resistance?
Sherry, you're muted. We're not able to hear you.
I have no idea where I was muted.
Okay.
What was the last thing you heard? Because I'm always talking. So if you can't hear me, it's definitely technology.
It was right after you requested us to put a word.
Amazing. So I was just repeating that Lynn said she rested yesterday and she was reluctant. So Lynn said when she hears me say this slowing down and stillness, she feels peace. Michelle says resistant and solitude. It's like we have this push-pull. I want it, but I don't know how to get it. I get fearful sometimes when I say stillness. Is, oh God, if I slow down, what am I going to find on the other side of that quiet? What do I not want to hear? What am I not willing to take a look at? And what happens if I don't know how to speed up again, which is a big fear for a lot of us. So I want you to understand that, to reframe this, it's not about finding calm, although that's lovely if it works for you. It's about learning what happens when you stop negotiating with your own limits. We don't have to live all the time running from stillness to chaos. We want to understand how to work our switchboard a little better so we don't have to fling ourselves from high functioning to highly exhausted and somewhere in between. So the first thing to start talking about is what's the truth about the word capacity. Capacity is a much nicer word than burnout or overwhelm or running on all cylinders and feeling broken. Perimenopause and menopause is the point in our lives that nobody told us about, or if they did, we didn't listen because we didn't know it was going to hit. the moment when your capacity starts to collapse. So this feels like a mathematical equation. I had capacity. You didn't get here by accident. I had capacity and all of a sudden it's gone. That's not how it works. We have been trained, all of us, since we were young kids, to manage rooms. Women in general, since we're young girls, anticipate needs, we prevent conflict, we hold everything together. We do it when we're young, we do it in friends groups, we then do it when we have a family or partners. We learn to stay calm when other people got angry, to smile when you didn't feel like smiling, to push through when your body was begging you to stop. And it's really hard to recognize that for lots of us in our late 30s, 40s, 50s, we've been living like this our whole lives and we had no idea. So when that conditioning becomes our identity, you start to believe that your strength means carrying everything without cracking. And it becomes an armor that you wear. Even your physical body has learned this. So when muscle tension becomes the way you function and your shoulders feel attached to your ears, your cortisol running through your body becomes normal and you're used to the 4 a.m. wake up and you wake up in the morning and can't move your body. It's just my adrenaline again and it's my cortisol waking me up, and that adrenaline becomes the only way you function and everyone knows you for it and you get applauded for it, right? So you may call it drive, ambition, and dedication, but underneath it, it's honestly hyper arousal disguised as an excellence that you want to hold in your life. Yes, Lynn, 43 and just now learning how important it is to rest according to intuition instead of perceived cultural norms. 51 and just picking this one up. So when we live our lives like this, we stop noticing all the little nuances. We're not listening to our body clues. We're not listening to our gut intuition. We're not listening to our brain asking us for something different because the world is much louder than the inside stories in our mind. We think this is how we create value in the world. This is how we are significant. It's how we matter, how smart we are, how much we can juggle, how much we can achieve, which is all incredible, but not at the cost of ourselves. So now let's go to the biology of the collapse of this capacity. We run our lives on this capacity, and then all of the hormones that we have since we're little padded your stress response. The estrogen and progesterone that has kind of held this structure up starts to drop as your years of childbearing ends and perimenopause is on its way. So your estrogen and your progesterone, from a scientific perspective, used to buffer the cortisol. They worked in conjunction with each other. They helped your brain recover. They regulated your moods and temperature and even your desire for everything in your life. We'll call them your internal shock absorbers. So when your shock absorbers work, you bounce back a lot faster. But now as your hormones start to change, every hit lands harder. You have a shorter fuse, let's just say. Small frustrations feel like explosions. Your brain is much more foggy. Your patience is thinner and your energy is less predictable. I can't tell you that if I decide I'm going to do something next week, that I'll have the energy next week to do it. And it feels really scary. But what we need to recognize is this is not weakness in us. It's your nervous system finally showing you what's been happening all along in a compound effect, and the debt now is due because you can't hold up those structures anymore with your hormones. So your body isn't betraying you like lots of us feel like it is when all of these symptoms start popping up. It's just stopping the lie that we tell ourselves, which is very uncomfortable to say out loud, self included. You can't run on adrenaline forever and call it your purpose. Does this sound familiar to anyone? Pop in the chat if you are like, oh my God, I didn't know I was doing that for so long, or now that I can't do it anymore, I realize how much I ran on that. Let me know in the chat if you've experienced this. It's so painful, Michelle. It's like, oh my God, I'm best known for the least interesting thing about me. My adrenaline spikes. Yay, that's great. Glad it's turned into my personality, right? So what's the emotional cost of this overcapacity that we do? When you build this identity around holding everything for everyone, collapse feels like failure. It feels like death to us. You tell yourself, if I slow down, I will lose everything. If I keep going, I'll lose myself. And that's the paradox of the midlife high achievers and high performers. Your nervous system is not going to cooperate with your overachiever anymore. So who's going to win? Am I going to lose myself or am I going to lose everything? Neither is a good option. So we're going to move away from that, but we first have to recognize that this is the paradox and the terror that most of us sit in every day. So I'm very aware of my still existing high stress hormone levels, but we get addicted to them. You start mistaking symptoms for flaws. Something's wrong. I can't motivate like I used to. Rage that flares up out of nowhere, that fabulous perimenopause rage, it's not madness. It's unprocessed and undefined boundaries that you haven't needed before in your life. Your brain fog is not your brain turning to mush despite it feeling like that. It's you completely depleted without a way to recharge. And that overall flatness that a lot of us feel, it's that absence of the adrenaline that doesn't hit like it used to, because for decades it's been running, our bodies have adapted to it. So I'm going to tell you right now, you don't have to get back to anyone who you used to be. That woman doesn't exist anymore. She was surviving. This one is trying to actually live in a way that maybe earlier years you didn't have the time or the bandwidth to create for yourself. So the best news about the neuroscience part of this renewal that we're talking about, taking that capacity and turning it into something sustainable, both chemically and emotionally, is your midlife brain is not deteriorating. The crazy part is it's repatterning. At this stage in our life, when we start to lose our estrogen, it actually increases our neuroplasticity. Your capacity to rewire thought and behavior goes up as your estrogen goes down. Nobody tells you this. We all feel broken. You're literally more capable of transformation at this point in your life than you were at 30 when you felt all powerful and all adrenaline. So this is your system saying you've earned the right to rebuild now from truth and not performance. It's why we care less about things, why we have less patience for a lot of things, because those things are supposed to fall away to the side. We're supposed to have less bandwidth for them. Like when a rocket ship goes and the fuselage comes off, that's this stage of life. When the old hormonal and identity structures dissolve, your brain actually becomes more capable of taking up space. How you handle your stress, how you access pleasure, how you regulate your emotion, and most importantly, how you can connect to yourself. But it's not a breakdown like it feels. It's just a whole new place we haven't been to. Let's call it biological reorganization. It doesn't mean it's not terrifying, but when we understand it, we can use it to our benefit. The only way this biological reorganization works is if you stop managing yourself like a project and judging everything as good and bad, and start relating to yourself like a living, changing organism. Like you would if you were nurturing a plant. You don't get angry if it's not thriving. You move it to the sunshine and you give it plant food and water that it needs. That's all we need to do here. So you're not meant to get back to who you were. You're meant to build the capacity for who you actually are without all of the structures that held you to constantly heavy lift to prove yourself in your life. So I have a question for everyone. An uncomfortable one. Write it down on a paper. I'd love if you'd be willing to share it in the chat. Where in your life are you still performing capacity that you no longer have? And what would it mean to tell the truth about that? This from the person who travels to travels back and forth between two countries every other month. Performing capacity is when I get sick 2 weeks into every trip, wherever I am. That is my body saying, great idea, love your itinerary, but your body is asking you to do something different than what you're doing. So where in your life, work, family, motherhood, partner, any family, a lot of us are juggling the sandwich generation where we're taking care of our children and our elderly parents. Where in your life are you still performing imaginary capacity when you actually no longer have it? Let me know in the chat what you're willing to share. Let's be brave together, guys. I no longer have the capacity to work 12-hour days. Amen. I need more sleep, and I've been listening lately. Good job. I go to bed early and rest for about 12 hours instead of work for 12 hours. Excellent, Lynn. Your body and brain will thank you for it. You know, we push and push, and when our body responds and we don't like it, we don't realize there's a give and take there. There's an answer to the question we're asking. We just may not like what the answer is. Anyone else want to share what they feel about their perceived capacity and what no longer works for them? Give me one more brave share. When we say it out loud, everyone else nods because we all function in the same way. Michelle, I don't have to the capacity to work the way now, but still continue to do so feeling depleted. And it's, again, it's that catch 22. Am I going to lose everything that I built, or am I going to lose myself? Neither are good options, but we have to figure out how to fix this, because I hate to say it, we taught everyone how we operate. So when they treat us like we don't need any help, we don't need support, we know how to do everything, when we change our mind, everyone around us is shocked because, like, this is not the rules of engagement we've had before. Exactly, Michelle. So you may have the capacity and you don't balance it well. Aram says, learning to say no when I need to. And I couldn't have lined that up better, because how we face this capacity balance dance is with boundaries. And it's a whole level boundaries none of us have ever had in our life, and it's time to learn them now. Pre-authorize what's important and say no. Ooh, I love that, pre-authorize. Deciding before we're in the reactive moment is massive, because we're so naturally used to that automatic answer that something will fly out of my mouth and I'm thinking, who said that? I don't have the time and energy to do that. I'm just so used to saying yes and taking care of it. And part of me still loves it. I love to be valuable. I love to be, to contribute and to help the people around me. And I can, but at what cost to myself? So when we get to the boundary conversation, we're going to talk now about boundaries as biology, not as a mindset hack. It's not a mindset hack. It's a biological necessity that our life is now asking from us. Our neurology and our psychology and our physiology are all now meeting the minds and saying, you have no choice but to do this now. Our old training, let's review it, taught us to be agreeable, available, and selfless. It's what we learn as women. Saying no makes you difficult or a diva. Having needs makes you dramatic. So you built a nervous system around anticipating this, scanning everyone else before you ever checked in with yourself. Empathy becomes hypervigilance. Anyone feel like that? I do. And then again, everyone's, oh, you're so good at that. I know I'm good at it. It's a problem. It's a skill. It's an addiction. So if my empathy is hypervigilance and it works for everyone else but me, why would I stop it? It keeps me safe in the world. It gives me meaning in the world. People rely on me. I'm not invisible. And then we move into the years where our kids are getting older. They need us less than before. So we need that hypervigilance even more, because we want to be on alert so that when someone needs us, we matter. We're right there. Boundaries feel very hard because we were never rewarded for having them. You were praised for staying calm, staying nice, staying flexible, and your nervous system equated boundaries with rejection, not safety. If I put a boundary in place, I push people away, and then they won't need me and I won't have them. But if I have a boundary, then I'm in an ivory tower by myself. No, thank you. Our brain built a loop. If I'm accommodating, I'm safe. I'm valued if I'm needed. I'm valued if I'm available. If I make everything okay for everyone, they won't abandon me. But now your body knows that every accommodation and every bend and twist that you've done for other people costs something real. Your energy, your clarity, your joy, your rest, even your libido. The operating system has changed. It's not putting distance. Boundaries does not mean distance between you and people. They mean the integrity of your energy. And that's not about the emotional side of it. It's a survival adaptation that unless we keep the integrity of our energy, it collapses. And we know this because now that our hormones are so different, we can't fake it anymore. My body won't let me pretend that the old way works anymore. So what do these boundaries actually do, other than scare the crap out of us to put them in place? Every time you override your body's signal to stop, your system pays for it. So I hear the clue, I ignore it, and I go on autopilot. And over here, I have a ledger of all the times I've abandoned myself. Every time you say yes, when your gut says no, your adrenals dump another hit of cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. You think you're avoiding conflict. You think you're making everything okay for everyone, but you're creating internal chaos in your hormones and in your gut biome and in your musculoskeletal system and in your neurology and in your physiology. Your whole body from the inside is reacting to the lack of boundaries. These boundaries are not rigid walls like we all think they are. They're nervous system agreements. And if we could flip how you look at them, we can start to say things to ourselves that have value, like, I will not abandon myself for connection. I will not call exhaustion my generosity, or I'm just a nice person. You don't need firmer boundaries. You need softer permission to need space, to disappoint people, to say no, to let things drop, because the boundaries are in there somewhere and they're coming from your body. We just have to rewire our brains to think it's not a bad thing to say what we mean to say. I always know when my no is a no. I just don't say it. Yes comes out of my mouth by habit. If we have this softer permission, it can be a win-win. I can do that for you, but I don't have the energy today. Let's do that on Sunday together. Okay, nobody died. When I actually put a boundary in place of yes, but, or no is a complete sentence, however this moves. Totally, Michelle. I do it all the time. We think there's something wrong with us and we just can't push through. And you are so not alone in this. And it's not a weakness, it's actually a strength, and I'll explain why. You are so smart and resourced, but we use our resources for everyone else but ourselves. Imagine what version of a woman you would be if all the resources you spend on everyone else, our businesses, our children, our partners, our ideas, if we use them from us first, how filled up our cup would be, that it would overflow to everyone else. They would have a sharper version of us. They would have clearer yes or no's. They would know where they stand with us. They wouldn't be trying to read why we're saying one thing and we're acting another way. Like, people can read our mood changes. So we hide behind perimenopausal rage. There's a reason we're raging. We're not listening anymore. We're only giving them what they asked because we're used to it. So, Apple, we're all in the same boat here. So before you could muscle through, which we know, and now we feel weak because we can't. It's not a decline. Think of yourself now as a sniper instead of a machine gun. Your boundaries and your lack of ability to push through is the accuracy which this next stage of life brings us. You can't keep saying yes to everything and expect your biology to foot the bill. It won't do it anymore. The nervous system now demands truth. Everything in this chat is truth that's scary to say out loud. We don't feel alone. We know we're not the only ones. We're not broken. We haven't gotten weak. We just require something different. Every false yes costs energy you don't have. It's a mathematical equation, unfortunately. When you stop outsourcing your piece, waiting for everyone else to give you a turn, you can start to recover some of this capacity. So let's do this hard question. What is the boundary your body has been begging you to make, but your guilt keeps talking you out of it? So write them down. I'm going to write mine in the chat. I'm doing this with you. So I'll read mine out loud. My body is asking me to stop prioritizing everyone else's okayness before I allow myself to take time for me. Michelle, stop, pause, and leave it for tomorrow, and good is good enough. Gorgeous. Over-efforting for others at the expense of myself. I love it. I mean, I don't love it, but I love that none of us are alone. Saying these words is so powerful because our bodies are asking for it, and when our brains won't give it to us, we suffer, and we know the answers. We just can't let ourselves do it. So our goal is to have the boundaries in place, but not feel crappy about it. So how do we move from proving to presence, where this is okay to say out loud, not just in a chat of people who are not in our regular lives and see the chaos that we create while everyone else thinks we're fine? Proving is the addiction we have and the loop that we're in, and presence is the recovery. It's not a big, massive change. It's the awareness. So if we spent years earning this love and attention and significance through excellence that we keep focusing on, being the perfect mother, being the capable leader, being the woman who never falters on anything, but every act of proving this keeps you in fight or flight. Your cortisol's up, your adrenaline's running, your adrenals are on empty, your hormones are chaotic, and you have nothing left. When I say presence, I'm not talking about meditating at the top of a mountain, although that's wonderful if you like it. I'm talking about actively being present in your life. It doesn't mean doing less. It means doing something from regulation. When you act from self-regulation, You don't lose yourself in achievement anymore. You become rooted inside your own regulation. So presence replaces that performance high that you have. It's quieter, it's safer, it's steadier, and weirdly, it's much more magnetic because people are not riding our roller coaster anymore, checking what mood we're in and can she help me? Sandra, I wish to stop saying fine and stop engaging with those who are not interested in the real answer. Amen. So where in your life, in the comments, are you still performing this value? What would presence, not performance, look like instead? So based on my answer would be I'm performing my value that if my calendar is not stacked with work, I'm not doing a good job of being a human being in this world, which is ridiculous. On a day that I'm resourced and regulated, who I show up to be the next day is what I want to bring to the world, much better version of myself. Where are you still performing your value, and what would presence look like instead? So everyone pop in based upon what you said. Where's a place that you see this performance coming into play? And what would it look like if you put presence there instead? Does anyone here not even know what could change for you? Because it's a very common thing. We all know this is what we're doing, but then we look at our schedules and we look at our lives and we look at our responsibilities and we see, I hear you, but I have no room to make for this. Presence isn't on the calendar. It is a very hard one, Apple. It really is. And a start for this is just the noticing. So I will say, let's all commit together for the next 7 days. Just start paying attention to where presence rather than performance would fit. So I have a busy weekend and then I'm flying home to America. And if I look at my schedule, there are no blanks for my presence. But I'm going to start watching for the next 7 days where I could slot it in, whether it's I have 1 hour and I think I'm getting the supermarket in and I'm getting this in and I'm making 3 phone calls. What would presence do in that hour instead? Maybe we pick the lowest hanging fruit. Maybe we stop and check in with ourselves before we run to respond to the email, to answer the phone, to have the ability to check in with ourselves before we do whatever we need to do. The idea of being present is through it all, absolutely, Apple. But because so many of us default into performance and we think that we're being present because we're being as on as we know how to be, we need a softer way of responding to the world. So I can see that I'm not giving it my all. And instead of feeling a weakness, like Michelle said earlier, I'm like, oh, I'm actually saving 20% for me and doing 80%. And 80%, my 80% is still better than most people's 200%. So how do we save a little bit from each area for ourselves to resource this presence bucket? If I don't constantly deplete myself in every single area and feel like I'm, running a supermarket sweep, gathering everything I need to do for everyone else, and at the end of the day, maybe there's a crumb left for me, we want to see how we can perform while also staying present. Notice what I need, notice what my body's feeling, and then do the action. It's a dance back and forth. I don't really believe in balance because then we're just, spinning plates all the time. But if we can notice at the same time as doing, we're heightening our awareness to, actually, I don't need to try so hard all the time. I can do the same things with a little more resource and a little more regulation. And then I have a little more at the end of the day that I don't usually have because I didn't run my bucket all the way dry. So I'm going to ask you all to close your eyes for a minute. And I want to kind of bring this into the body and integrate this a bit because it's great in our brains, but until we know what it feels like, you're not going to believe me this is possible. So I want you to close your eyes and I want your breath to deepen. Not forced, just real. Take a deep breath in, hold it for a couple of seconds, and then let the breath out. Another deep breath in, hold, and exhale. As you're slowing your breathing down, I want you to feel your spine. That spine is the structure that carries you all through these decades of doing. I want you to feel your spine rooted in your seat, and the top of your spine holding your head up high. This is your structure. This is your strength. But I also want you to let your spine relax as it's sitting up straight and let it know that you don't have to hold everything right now, everywhere. Now I want you to place your hand on your heart and bring your awareness to your heart. Take a couple of breaths here and feel as though you're breathing through your heart. So take a deep breath in and feel it in your hand. And exhale. Feel yourself slowing down. What are you still proving to yourself and to others? Your heart will know the answer. Let the question echo without rushing to answer. Keeping your hand on your heart, what are you still proving to yourself and others? Where does it come from? Whose is it? It may not even be yours. Now I want you to drop your attention to your lower belly. Put your hand on your lower belly. This is your seat of intuition, boundaries, and creation. Your lower belly in this chakra is where your capacity sits. And I want you to breathe into your lower belly. In through the nose for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 2. 1, 2. And out for 6. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let your breath tell your body you're safe now. You can soften without disappearing. Feel the safety in your body. Feel your heart soften. Feel your belly soften. And I want you to let one word rise up. A word that represents what your system is truly asking for. Not what your to-do list demands, not what your bills tell you, what your body is whispering to you. It may be space, stillness, connection, truth, excitement, joy, peace. Whatever comes, let it land. Let it be your word. Now I want you to silently speak to your body and repeat quietly to yourself. I am done overriding you. I will build my strength from regulation, not adrenaline. I choose presence over performance. The more resourced and regulated I am, the more I have for the life that I want to live. Just let that land. I'll repeat them. I am done overriding you. I will build my strength from regulation, not adrenaline. I choose presence over performance. Let your breath find its natural rhythm. Let yourself arrive in this quieter place. Not fixed, not finished, but reconnected. Stillness is not what happens when life stops demanding. Stillness is what happens when you stop abandoning yourself to meet its demands. So when you feel ready, I want you to open your eyes and pop in the chat what you allowed yourself to feel. Maybe it was your word, maybe it was something that you remembered, maybe it was an answer about what you're still proving. Let me know what came up for you. My word was play, which I wasn't expecting. Inner value and joy, gorgeous apple. Compassion came up for me, compassion for myself, gorgeous. I love it. I love it. These aren't just words. It's a request. Patience, beautiful, Lynn. Being present, acceptance. Look at this. We've got this. Look how well we function driving ourselves crazy. Imagine if we let ourselves have the space and the compassion and the inner joy and the peace and the presence and the play, what we could accomplish in this world, not overriding ourselves. Feeling heard, beautiful. And Michelle, like, to feel heard, first have to feel ourselves. We look outside hoping someone will just make it okay that we're allowed to rest, but it has to come from us, and it's so hard. But that's why things like this, where we witness each other, we know it's not just us, we know we're not broken, we know it's not a weakness. We can then be refueled to say, don't have to stay like this. I'm not alone in this. So what's something today that surfaced for you that surprised you? So for me, I'm surprised that my word was play. I thought it was going to be rest. But when I feel playful, I know how to use my body better. I know how to listen to what I need because I'm not in masculine push mode. Play is very creative for me. As soon as I do that, I know how to flip into what I need. What surfaced for you today that surprised you? Joy, beautiful. It's underneath it. It's underneath all of that is the joy, because we carry so much, we don't get a chance to feel it. And then we feel like we're missing our lives, especially as our kids get older and we don't get as much time with them. I don't want to miss this phase or be so depleted that we have nothing left for ourselves to even enjoy. Amazing. So I'm going to leave you with one last reminder, and then I'm going to open up the Q&A for anyone who wants to share or ask anything. Lynn, I'm surprised by how common my struggles are as I balance intuition and obligation. Beautifully said. Beautifully. So common. Your body is not betraying you. It's inviting you to recalibrate. The boundaries are not a loss. They're reclamation. And this stillness is not weakness, which is what it feels like and why it's so important for us to talk about it. It's a space where our strength gets to return for us, by us, with us. So does anyone want to unmute, share anything, ask any questions? I'm here for you. I live it too. I teach it and I live it. So I'd love to hear. If you don't want to unmute and you're not comfortable, you can pop it in the chat and I'm happy to read it out. You want to unmute and share, you want to put your videos on, whatever you're comfortable with, I am here for you. We can do theoretical or we can do practical. I'm here for it all. I live in this all day long with clients. Relearning how to be ourselves. Oh, I see someone typing. Who's got a question for me? Or even just a share or reflection, something that they want to take away from today, an aha moment. How can I shift old habits that no longer serve me? Great question, Lynn. And it's a big one. I'm not even going to ask details because, not that I don't care about the details, Lynn, all of us have to ask ourselves this question. When we see we've got the before and after, we have the old life that isn't going to work for us anymore, and a new one that sounds really nice, but we don't know how to access. What we get to do, I won't say need to do, we get the opportunity to take a look, and I do this with clients. I take a sheet of paper and I draw a line down the middle, and on the left side is the habit. Actually, do 2 lines, so 3 categories on a paper. So on the left side of the paper is the habit. The middle bit is what it is doing in service to me. And this is a really hard one to admit. As we override ourselves, we wouldn't still be doing this unless it gave us something, whether it's attention, connection, achievement, fulfillment, stress that we get addicted to. So we write what the habit is, what it's still giving us, and then in the last section of the paper on the right-hand side, what would you like the habit to do instead? So I'm going to take one for myself. Overschedule my life. I work a lot. I love what I do. So because I love what I do, I overgive. So left side would say working too much. The middle one would say, what does it give me? It makes me feel valuable. I started my career later in life, found this after a bad divorce, and I'm really proud of what I've built over the past 12 years. I don't want to miss any time with it. So when I see that it's still giving me the significance that I've worked very hard to get, I can find out that in the last category, what a new habit could be is find my significance without the overworking. So have projects that don't require as much of my time. So in a few months, I'm releasing a journal that I created, which is people being able to get my work without me needing to be on a call with them. So it's a way I can have a bigger impact and help more people, but without depleting myself. So we're not going to shut each habit off like, on a breaker on an electricity switch, but we can translate what we're still getting from it to what the habit can turn into. If I still want the significance, but I don't want to be as depleted, how can I find significance in a way that doesn't deplete me? Is that helpful, Lynn? So just take it habit by habit instead of thinking you're going to magically change. We're going to take it, find out what we get from it, and then find out what the next piece is. So Sandra said, I'm so happy that it's not a loss. Ever since I turned 50 5 years ago, I felt so lost. Not midlife, but out of life. What a way to say it. Now I see there's joy in this stage. That's beautiful. And it's just a totally different zone we've ever been in. Apple. I was also shocked when I was doing research on the neuroplasticity of it. We've been told it's nearly impossible to change in later years. But what happens is when we're younger and we hold so much and we run off our adrenaline, our neurons don't have enough time to regenerate because we're holding so much. We're juggling the kids and the work and the family and the partner and identities and all that. When we put a lot of it down, because there's now space, our brains can now do what they're meant to do. We're regulating our hormones. A lot of what our body worked hard to do in our childbearing years, whether we had kids or not, our hormones were busy working. They're not busy with that anymore. So our bodies and our brains are looking for something else to do since it isn't trying to make a baby anymore, practically speaking. The neuroplasticity, less estrogen makes our body work differently. And then we can develop aspects of our brains that we couldn't when we were younger because we had a baby on the hip and a phone on our hand and carpool to run and a job to do, and we were in our masculine a lot. So now we can be in our dance of masculine and feminine, use our brilliance as we need it, and also recover how we need it. When we have the recovery, our hormones allow us to have the space for our neuroplasticity to work. It's fascinating. I was so excited when I read that. Break down the equation because the habits work for us. So I hate to say that my bad habits work, but if they didn't, I would have changed them to a new bad habit, right? So if I find out what I'm getting from the habit, then I can change the habit while still getting what I need. Anyone else have any other questions or any other shares that you'd like? I'm here for you. And in our next class, I was working on, after I wrote this class, I was like, I know what I want to teach next. In our next class, we're going to explore visibility, not just being seen and feeling heard, like Michelle said, but being witnessed. What it means to express from this grounded, regulated version of you. We're slowly rebuilding our resources. And then what does it look like to bring this version of us out into the world to know that it's not only okay to be like this, whatever that means, but it's what the world gets to require. Exactly. It is the magical layers because if I know I can trust myself and my space in the world, then I can bring my value to the world without asking to be accepted or not asking for permission or waiting for someone to validate me because it's my turn. This is why women in their 50s and 60s and 70s, you always see those quotes from famous actors, when I stopped giving so many shits about everything, I wish I lived my life like that, because now I can look at the landscape of what I want and create it faster because I'm witnessing myself. And in that, I get witnessed differently. So it's going to be a really exciting, empowering, strengthening class. We want to undo. Since we're not broken, let's use this extra energy that we're going to find. Let's use this extra bandwidth and capacity to create the impact and change we want in the world so we don't have regrets that we wasted time or we were stuck in pain or judging ourselves or feeling weak and being alone in it. Rather, when we all rise together, we all do better. So I didn't even mean for that to rhyme, but it's true. Thank you so much, everyone, for playing full out with me today. I really appreciate it. And for anyone who's watching the replay, I know we've got a lot of people signed up to catch the replay. I'm so excited to see you on the next class. And I love doing this with you. And none of you are alone. None of you are crazy. I mean, I'm crazy, good crazy, but we can grow and unleash ourselves together. We each have to unlock our own combination. But when we get to do this together, it feels like it's worth the work. And it feels like there's a pathway for us to do this together. So lots of love, and I will see you next month. Thanks, Michelle. Take care, everyone. Lots of love.